Have you ever stopped to think why some people seem to effortlessly build financial security, while others struggle their entire lives despite working just as hard? The difference isn't luck, intelligence, or even income level. It's something far more fundamental, something that operates beneath conscious awareness in nearly everyone who finds themselves trapped in financial mediocrity. Most people fail to build wealth, not because they don't earn enough money, but because they were never taught how money actually works. They operate with inherited beliefs, cultural programming, and reactive patterns that guarantee financial struggle. These patterns run so deep that people defend them even when they're destroying their financial future. The system isn't designed to teach you this. In fact, it benefits from your ignorance. The truth is uncomfortable. Wealth building requires you to think and behave in ways that feel completely unnatural at first. It demands that you reject the social programming you've absorbed since childhood. It asks you to make choices that your friends and family will question, criticize, or mock. This is why most people never even start, and why those who do often quit within months. Understanding why wealth eludes most people is the first step toward ensuring you're not one of them. But understanding alone changes nothing. What separates those who build wealth from those who don't isn't knowledge. It's the willingness to act on that knowledge even when every social force around you pulls in the opposite direction. Let's examine the real reasons most people will never build wealth, and more importantly, what you must do differently if you refuse to accept that fate. The income illusion: why earning more changes nothing. There's a pervasive belief that wealth is simply a matter of earning more money. Get the promotion, switch to a higher-paying job, start a side hustle, and suddenly your financial problems will disappear. This belief is so deeply embedded that people organize their entire lives around chasing higher incomes. But here's what actually happens when most people earn more. They spend more. It's not a character flaw or lack of discipline. It's a psychological phenomenon called lifestyle inflation, and it's almost automatic. That raise you worked so hard for gets absorbed into a better apartment, a newer car, more expensive restaurants. Within 6 months, you feel exactly as financially stressed as before, just with nicer stuff. The pattern repeats at every income level. Studies show that people earning 6 figures often feel just as financially strained as those earning half that amount. The pressure simply shifts form: bigger mortgage, private schools, luxury car payments. The underlying relationship with money remains unchanged. More income without different behavior just means larger numbers flowing in and immediately flowing back out. This is why focusing primarily on income is a trap. Income is important, certainly, but it's not the bottleneck for most people. The bottleneck is what happens to money after it arrives. A person earning $50,000 who keeps 20% will build more wealth than someone earning twice that who keeps nothing. This mathematical reality is obvious when stated plainly, yet millions of people ignore it completely. The real question isn't, how do I earn more, but rather, what do I do with what I already have? Until you can answer that second question with behaviors that actually work, earning more just means funding a more expensive lifestyle while building nothing lasting. Income creates opportunity, but only if you know what to do when opportunity arrives. The consumption trap: how spending became identity. Somewhere in the last few decades, a profound shift occurred in how people relate to consumption. Spending stopped being merely a means to acquire needed goods and became a form of self-expression, entertainment, and identity construction. People literally define themselves by what they buy. This shift has catastrophic financial implications. When consumption is tied to identity, cutting spending feels like erasing yourself. That's why budgeting advice often fails. It's not really about the money, it's about who you believe you are. The person who sees themselves as sophisticated can't imagine shopping at discount stores. The person whose identity centers on fitness can't fathom the cheap gym. The person who defines themselves through travel can't accept staying home. Marketing companies understand this better than most financial advisors. They don't sell products, they sell identity. Buy this and you're adventurous. Buy this and you're successful. Buy this and you're a good parent. Each purchase is framed as a statement about who you are rather than what you need. And it works brilliantly because people desperately want to believe their purchases mean something. The result is financial behavior completely disconnected from financial goals. People who claim they want wealth simultaneously make daily spending decisions that prevent wealth. They don't see the contradiction because the spending doesn't feel optional. It feels like maintaining their sense of self. The coffee, the clothes, the streaming services, the takeout, each individually seems trivial. Collectively, they prevent wealth building, and psychologically, they feel non-negotiable. Breaking this pattern requires separating consumption from identity. You are not what you buy. Your worth isn't determined by brands, experiences, or lifestyle signaling. This sounds simple, but represents a fundamental psychological shift that most people resist with every fiber of their being. They would rather stay broke than question whether their spending reflects who they truly are, or merely who they've been taught to perform as. The comfort addiction. Why present always beats future. Humans are terrible at valuing future outcomes compared to immediate gratification. This isn't opinion, it's neuroscience. The brain structure that evaluates immediate rewards is different from the one considering future consequences. The immediate reward system is older, faster, and more emotionally powerful. The future planning system requires conscious effort to engage and is easily overridden. This creates a built-in bias toward present consumption over future security. Saving money means accepting less comfort now for more security later. Investing means accepting risk and delayed gratification for eventual returns. Building wealth means consistently choosing future benefit over present pleasure. For most people, their neurological wiring makes this feel almost impossible. The modern environment makes this exponentially worse. Everything is designed to deliver immediate gratification. One-click purchasing, same-day delivery, instant entertainment, buy now, pay later. The friction between desire and fulfillment has been systematically eliminated, while the gap between spending and consequence has been maximized. You get the pleasure now. The credit card bill is an abstract future problem. This explains why people intellectually understand they should save but emotionally can't follow through. The future version of themselves who needs money feels hypothetical, almost fictional. The present version who wants something feels intensely real. Every single spending decision becomes a battle between these two versions, and the present version has overwhelming neurological advantage. Wealth building requires you to consciously override this system. You must make the future emotionally real and the present desire less compelling. This isn't about willpower. Willpower depletes. It's about changing environmental structure, creating barriers to impulsive spending, and automating wealth building so it happens before you can sabotage it. Most people never do this because it requires admitting they can't trust their own impulses. The knowledge gap, financial illiteracy as system design. Most people emerge from years of formal education without understanding compound interest, inflation, asset allocation, or the difference between assets and liabilities. This isn't an accident. The education system isn't designed to create financially independent people. It's designed to create employees who work for money, consume reliably, and depend on institutions. This creates a profound vulnerability. People make major financial decisions, student loans, mortgages, retirement accounts, investments, without understanding the underlying mechanics. They trust banks, financial advisors, and institutions that profit from their ignorance. They sign documents they don't comprehend, agreeing to terms that benefit others at their expense. The financial industry exploits this deliberately. Complex fee structures, confusing terminology, and deliberately opaque products separate people from their money while maintaining an illusion of sophistication. Most people can't calculate the actual cost of their mortgage over its lifetime. They don't understand that a 1% difference in fees can cost them hundreds of thousands over decades. They accept whatever they're offered because they lack the knowledge to evaluate alternatives. This knowledge gap compounds over time. Small misunderstandings early in life lead to major financial mistakes. These mistakes create stress, which reduces capacity for learning. The person then makes more mistakes, deepening the pattern. By middle age, many people are trapped in financial situations they don't understand and can't escape, built one ignorant decision at a time. Breaking this requires aggressive self-education. You must learn what the system deliberately didn't teach you. This isn't optional if you want wealth. You don't need to become a financial expert, but you must understand basic principles well enough to avoid being systematically exploited. Most people never do this because they're either too proud to admit ignorance or too overwhelmed to begin. The peer pressure problem. Social forces that prevent wealth. Your social environment is one of the strongest predictors of your financial outcome. If you're surrounded by people who spend everything they earn, you'll likely do the same. If you're surrounded by people who invest and delay gratification, you'll probably follow that pattern. This isn't about peer pressure in the teenager sense. It's about normalized behavior and social acceptance. When everyone around you leases new cars, buying used feels like a statement of failure. When everyone takes expensive vacations, staying home feels like deprivation. When everyone has the latest technology, using older devices feels like falling behind. The behavior isn't driven by actual need or even personal desire. It's driven by not wanting to feel different, less than, or left out. This creates a situation where building wealth requires social courage. You must be willing to make different choices than your peers, to accept their confusion or criticism, to exist outside the normal consumption patterns of your social group. Most people find this psychologically impossible. They would rather have social approval than financial security. The problem intensifies because the people around you have a vested interest in your continued participation in consumption culture. If you stop spending on social activities, restaurants, events, you're implicitly criticizing their choices just by choosing differently. This makes them uncomfortable, and they'll pressure you to conform, often disguised as concern for your well-being. Breaking wealth building as a social contract requires finding new peer groups or having extraordinary conviction to stand alone. You might need to reduce time with certain friends who drain your finances. You might need to have awkward conversations explaining why you're choosing differently. You might need to endure a period of social discomfort while you establish new patterns. Most people never do this because connection feels more important than wealth, and in the immediate term, it is. The debt normalization. How borrowing became default. For most of human history, debt was considered dangerous and shameful. Today, it's not only normalized but encouraged. Student loans, mortgages, car loans, credit cards. The average person carries multiple forms of debt simultaneously and considers this completely normal. Some financial advice even frames certain debt as good, as if borrowing money to increase consumption is a positive strategy. This normalization has catastrophic consequences. Debt represents future income already spent. Every dollar you owe is a dollar of future labor already claimed by someone else. The person carrying significant debt isn't building wealth. They're working to pay for past consumption while simultaneously trying to fund present life. The math makes wealth building nearly impossible. Interest compounds against you when you're in debt just as powerfully as it compounds for you when you invest. The person paying 18% interest on credit card debt would need to find investments returning more than 18% just to break even. This is extraordinarily difficult. Meanwhile, the debt compounds daily, growing faster than most people realize. The psychology of debt is even worse than the mathematics. Debt creates stress, which impairs decision-making, which leads to more debt. It creates a feeling of being trapped, which reduces motivation for change. It normalizes living beyond your means, which prevents developing the habits necessary for wealth. Debt isn't just a financial problem. It's a comprehensive wealth prevention system. Building wealth while carrying consumer debt is like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. You can pour in more water, but you'll never get ahead. The first step toward wealth for most people isn't earning more or investing better. It's eliminating debt completely. Most people never do this because debt feels so normal they don't recognize it as the emergency it actually is. The retirement delusion. Why your future self is broke. Most people believe they're planning for retirement. They contribute to a 401k, maybe an IRA. They feel responsible, like they're doing the right thing. Meanwhile, they're on track to have nowhere near enough money to maintain their lifestyle in retirement. The numbers don't work, but they don't check because checking would create unbearable anxiety. The retirement crisis isn't coming, it's already here. Millions of people in their 60s are discovering that decades of retirement planning left them with a fraction of what they need. They're either continuing to work out of necessity or drastically reducing their standard of living. This will only intensify as younger generations with less pension access, more debt, and lower savings rates reach retirement age. The standard advice, contribute to your 401k and hope for the best, is demonstrably insufficient for most people. The recommended savings rates don't account for actual retirement expenses. The assumed investment returns often don't materialize. The timeline assumptions ignore increasing life expectancy. People are planning based on rules of thumb that don't reflect reality. This creates a situation where most people are sleepwalking toward financial catastrophe. They believe they're handling it because they're doing what they were told to do, but what they were told to do isn't enough. By the time they realize this, they've lost decades of compounding opportunity. The 60-year-old who discovers they're underfunded by $500,000 can't fix that problem. Building actual retirement security requires much more aggressive savings and investing than most people consider. It requires starting decades earlier than feels urgent. It requires regularly checking whether your plan actually works mathematically, not just assuming it does. Most people never do this level of planning because it's uncomfortable, complicated, and requires confronting unpleasant possibilities. The risk aversion that guarantees poverty. There's a particular kind of risk aversion that prevents wealth. The person who's terrified of investment risk but completely comfortable with the certainty of not building wealth. They won't invest in the stock market because it might go down. Meanwhile, they keep everything in savings accounts that guarantee they'll lose money to inflation. They're so afraid of potential loss that they accept guaranteed loss. This stems from misunderstanding what risk actually means. Keeping money in cash feels safe because the nominal number doesn't change, but the purchasing power steadily erodes. Over 20 years, inflation can cut the real value in half. The person who avoided investment risk to stay safe actually guaranteed they'd be poorer. They just did it slowly enough that they didn't notice it happening. Real wealth building requires accepting calculated risk. The stock market fluctuates, sometimes dramatically, but over long periods, it has consistently outpaced inflation and generated real returns. The person who refuses to participate because of short-term volatility gives up the most reliable wealth-building tool available to ordinary people. They choose the certainty of mediocrity over the possibility of actual financial security. This risk aversion often masks deeper issues. Sometimes it's actually about control. The person would rather accept a guaranteed bad outcome they understand than a probabilistic good outcome they can't control. Sometimes it's about identity. They see themselves as not an investor and refuse to question that self-definition. Sometimes it's about fear of regret. They're more afraid of losing money to a bad investment than slowly losing it to inflation because the investment feels like an active choice. Building wealth requires you to become comfortable with uncertainty within appropriate boundaries. You must learn to distinguish between reckless gambling and calculated risk-taking. You must accept that short-term losses are part of long-term gains. You must develop the emotional capacity to watch your investments fluctuate without panicking. Most people never develop this capacity because it's emotionally demanding and nobody teaches you how. The instant gratification economy. Designed against your future. Every app, advertisement, and purchase flow is engineered to make spending as effortless as possible. One-click ordering, stored payment information, buy now, pay later, subscriptions that renew automatically. The entire economic infrastructure is designed to reduce friction between impulse and purchase, maximizing the chance you'll spend before your rational mind engages. This isn't conspiracy, it's business optimization. Companies profit when you buy, so they eliminate every barrier to buying. They study psychology, user experience, and behavioral economics specifically to make spending feel easy, natural, and emotionally satisfying. They're extraordinarily good at this because billions of dollars depend on it. Meanwhile, saving and investing maintain substantial friction. You need to set up accounts, verify identity, transfer money, choose investments, overcome inertia and uncertainty. The wealth-building path is deliberately or accidentally filled with barriers while the consumption path is frictionless. For most people, this structural difference determines outcomes more than conscious choice. This creates an environment where building wealth requires swimming against a massive current. Every day, you're bombarded with thousands of messages encouraging consumption and almost none encouraging wealth building. Every interface is designed to help you spend, and none are designed to help you save. Your natural impulses are being professionally manipulated by people whose job is defeating your long-term self-interest for their short-term profit. Winning in this environment requires deliberate structural changes. You must create friction for spending, delete stored payment info, use cash, implement waiting periods before purchases. You must eliminate friction for saving, automate transfers, make investment contributions default rather than optional. You're essentially hacking your environment to work for your goals instead of against them. Most people never do this because they don't realize the environment is the problem. The mindset that changes everything. Everything discussed so far points to a fundamental truth. Building wealth isn't primarily about money. It's about psychology, habits, and systems. The difference between those who build wealth and those who don't isn't intelligence, income, or luck. It's the willingness to think and behave differently than the culture around them encourages. This requires developing what might be called financial independence mindset. This isn't about positive thinking or visualization. It's about seeing money clearly, without the emotional distortions most people carry. It's recognizing that every spending decision is actually a priority decision. It's understanding that your financial future is being created by today's behaviors, not tomorrow's intentions. People with this mindset don't see saving as deprivation. They see spending as the cost of delayed wealth. They don't see investing as risky. They see not investing as a guaranteed failure. They don't see frugality as punishment. They see wasteful spending as paying a premium for social approval they don't actually value. The entire frame shifts from consumption as default to wealth building as default. This mindset can't be adopted instantly. It develops through repeated exposure to accurate information, through small, successful experiments with different behaviors, through gradually rewiring the associations around money and spending. It requires questioning everything you were taught about what money is for and what constitutes a good life. Most people never develop this mindset because it requires significant cognitive effort and social courage. It means thinking independently about money when your entire social world is thinking conventionally. It means delaying gratification in a culture that worships instant satisfaction. It means appearing to have less when you actually have more, which contradicts every status signal the culture values. What you actually need to do. Understanding why most people fail to build wealth means nothing without different action. Knowledge without behavior change is just comfortable self-delusion. So what does different actually look like in practice? First, you need to see clearly where you are financially. Not where you wish you were, not where you pretend you are, where you actually are. This means calculating your actual net worth, listing every debt, tracking spending for at least a month to know where money actually goes. Most people avoid this because the truth is uncomfortable, but you can't navigate to a destination without knowing your starting point. Second, you need to eliminate high-interest debt as quickly as possible. Not over time, not gradually, aggressively. This likely means temporarily sacrificing other financial goals, reducing lifestyle, and focusing intensity on debt elimination. Every dollar spent on interest is money that will never build wealth for you. This is the emergency that should override most other financial priorities. Third, you need to automate wealth building so it happens before you can spend the money. Set up automatic transfers from checking to savings on payday. Increase retirement contributions until they're uncomfortable but manageable. Make investing the default and spending what's left over, not the reverse. This removes willpower from the equation and ensures progress even when motivation fluctuates. Fourth, you need to reduce or restructure your life to lower expenses substantially. Not trim a little, not optimize around the edges. Actually reduce. This might mean smaller housing, older vehicles, eliminating subscriptions, changing social patterns. This feels radical because it is radical, but wealth building requires creating a gap between income and expenses, and most people can't or won't increase income enough to matter without also reducing expenses. Fifth, you need to invest consistently in assets that grow over time. For most people, this means low-cost index funds that track the broad market. Not individual stocks, not cryptocurrency speculation, not get-rich schemes. Simple, boring, consistent investing in diversified holdings over decades. This won't make you rich quickly, but it's the most reliable path to wealth for ordinary people. Sixth, you need to learn continuously about money, investing, and behavioral finance. Read books, take courses, listen to podcasts from credible sources focused on education rather than entertainment. Develop the knowledge base to make informed decisions and avoid being systematically exploited. This is ongoing education over years, not a weekend project. Seventh, you need to change your peer environment or develop immunity to social pressure. Spend time with people who share wealth-building values. Reduce time with people who drain your finances or mock your choices. Find community around your actual values rather than consumption. This might be the hardest step because humans are social creatures, but your peer environment will determine your outcomes more than almost anything else. None of this is complicated, but all of it is difficult because it requires going against cultural programming, social pressure, and your own impulses. This is why most people won't do it. They'll understand intellectually, agree that it makes sense, and continue behaving exactly as before. Understanding doesn't change outcomes. Only different behavior changes outcomes. The gap between knowing and doing. There's a vast gap between understanding what builds wealth and actually building wealth. That gap is filled with discomfort, social pressure, delayed gratification, and sustained effort over years with no immediate reward. Most people stand at the edge of that gap, look across, and decide it's not worth crossing. This is a choice, though it rarely feels like one. It feels like circumstance, bad luck, or insufficient income. It feels like the system being rigged, life being unfair, or wealthy people having advantages you lack. Sometimes these things are true, but more often they're convenient narratives that excuse inaction. The uncomfortable reality is that most people in developed economies could build significant wealth over their lifetime if they chose to prioritize it. Not everyone could become rich, but most could achieve financial independence, the point where work becomes optional because assets cover expenses. They don't because the cost feels too high. Too much sacrifice, too much social weirdness, too much delayed gratification, too much thinking differently than everyone around them. This isn't a moral judgment. These are reasonable factors to consider. Social connection matters. Present quality of life matters. Not everything should be sacrificed for future financial security, but the choice should be conscious and honest. Most people aren't consciously choosing present comfort over future wealth. They're sleepwalking through financial decisions driven by impulse, social pressure, and unexamined assumptions. The question isn't whether you should build wealth. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price of building wealth, and whether you're choosing that consciously or defaulting into financial mediocrity by never deciding at all. Why this matters. Now, time is the most powerful force in wealth building, and it only moves in one direction. Every year, you delay changing your financial behavior is a year of lost compounding, lost returns, lost opportunity. The 25-year-old who starts investing even small amounts has a massive advantage over the 40-year-old starting with large amounts. The mathematics of compound growth means time matters more than almost any other factor. This creates urgency that most people don't feel. 30 seems young, 40 still feels like plenty of time. 50 is when panic sets in, and by then the easiest paths are closed. The person who spends their 20s and 30s funding a consumption lifestyle wakes up in their 40s or 50s facing an impossible savings challenge. The current economic environment makes this more critical than ever. Pensions have largely disappeared, replaced with self-directed retirement accounts that most people underfund. Social security systems in many countries face demographic pressures that may reduce benefits. Healthcare costs are rising faster than inflation. The safety nets previous generations relied on are fraying or gone. This means you cannot assume institutions will take care of you in old age. You cannot assume doing what previous generations did will produce the outcomes they achieved. The world has changed, risk has shifted from institutions to individuals, and most people haven't adjusted their behavior to reflect this new reality. If you're going to build wealth, the best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Not after the next raise, not when life is less busy, not when you feel more ready. The compounding you give up by waiting is gone forever. The habits you don't build now will be harder to build later. The knowledge you don't acquire keeps you vulnerable to exploitation for longer. Building wealth is building freedom. At its core, wealth isn't really about money. Money is just the tool. What wealth actually provides is options, security, and freedom. The freedom to leave a job you hate. The freedom to take career risks. The freedom to handle emergencies without catastrophe. The freedom to be generous. The freedom to make choices based on what you want, rather than what you can afford. Most people spend their entire lives without experiencing this freedom. They're trapped in jobs they hate because they need the income. They can't pursue opportunities because they lack capital. They're one emergency away from financial crisis. They make every decision through the lens of affordability rather than desirability. This isn't living fully. It's surviving financially. Wealth building is ultimately about refusing that fate. It's about deciding that your future matters enough to make uncomfortable changes now. It's about recognizing that the consumption culture surrounding you is designed to keep you trapped and choosing to opt out. It's about taking responsibility for outcomes that the culture tells you are beyond your control. This is hard. It requires thinking differently, behaving differently, and accepting social discomfort. It means sometimes appearing to have less than you do. It means making choices others question. It means delaying gratification for years while people around you indulge immediately. It means being disciplined in an undisciplined culture. But the alternative is spending your life financially vulnerable, dependent on institutions and employers, unable to pursue what matters to you because you lack resources. For most people, that's the actual trajectory unless something changes. The culture won't change. The economic system won't change to benefit you. Only your choices can change. Most people will never build wealth because they're unwilling to make choices that build wealth. They want the outcome without the process, the destination without the journey. They want wealth to happen to them rather than being something they create through sustained effort over years. You can be different, but different requires actually being different, not just understanding why different would be better. It requires action sustained over time, even when motivation fades, even when friends don't understand, even when progress feels impossibly slow. The path is simple but not easy. The principles are clear, but the execution is difficult. Most people will know what to do and not do it. The question that determines your financial future isn't whether you understand wealth building. It's whether you're willing to do what wealth building requires, starting today, continuing for years, regardless of how uncomfortable or socially awkward it becomes. That's the real difference between those who build wealth and those who don't. Not knowledge, not income, not opportunity. Willingness to act differently than everyone around you for long enough that compound growth makes the difference obvious. Most people lack this willingness. Do you?